Welcome everyone to the world premiere of Dominus Lab. I've been looking forward to this day for a long time, and now it's finally here, and this is truly exciting. But what's even more exciting are our incredible guest speakers. So today we're honored to have Andreas Widmer and Daniel Cruz and Peggy O'Flaherty with us. And I'm Dominik Tarolli, founder of Dominus Lab. On behalf of our entire board, thank you for being here. Now, let's begin. And we want really to start this relationship the right way with a gift for you. And it's a free book that can be a game changer for anyone with a business idea. And inside you'll find a simple 7-step workflow to quickly test any idea so you don't waste time on something that won't fly. And we'll share the link at the end of the webinar. But right now, we got a lot to cover, so let's get started right away. At Dominus Lab, every session begins with a Bible verse, a verse so powerful it's been translated into over 1,100 languages. So more than 3/4 of the world can understand its message. And it's a 24-word parade of hope, one that begins with God and leads to eternal life. It's John 3:16, and to me, these are the real numbers of hope. So now let's take a moment in prayer in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Now, in the last weeks, a lot of people approached me about Dominus Lab and the mission we are on, and I will go into that in a minute, but let me first tell you a story. 2,500 years ago, Nehemiah was a trusted cupbearer to King of Persia. His life was good and he earned the trust of the king. But then he heard that the walls of Jerusalem were in ruins, leaving his people defenseless and broken. Nehemiah sat down and wept. For some days he mourned, fasted and prayed, but then he took massive action. He boldly approached the king and asked for his support and approval to rebuild the wall. And because the gracious hand of God was with Nehemiah, the king granted his request. Then he went straight to work, rallying the people to rebuild their city and their future. Even when enemies mocked, threatened, and tried to sabotage them, Nehemiah kept his team focused and unstoppable, one stone after the other. And in a record-breaking 52 days, they finished rebuilding the wall. He not only rebuilt the wall, but also sparked a spiritual revolution, helping his people reclaim their faith, their identity, and their destiny. Because true transformation isn't just about walls, it's about who they became in the process. Now, what has this to do with Dominus Lab? So Dominus Lab is a global Christian startup initiative that fills a wide space because we are currently losing a whole generation, especially in the Western world. The wall, so to say, is broken. The solution is to rebuild the wall with entrepreneurship. Renewal leaders and movements throughout the church's history have been entrepreneurial. Just think about Saint Benedict, Saint Francis Cabrini, or even Saint Francis of Assisi. And I know that it works. 20 years ago, I was part of Venture Lab, Switzerland's national startup initiative that was founded by 16 million Swiss francs from the Swiss government. And we helped to launch over 1,000 high-tech startups. But this was for secular startups. Now we're doing it again, building a world-class program for Christian founders. So technology and AI are advancing faster than ever. Therefore, it's really urgent. Why? Because AI and the transhumanist movement are built on a lie. They claim to push humanity beyond its limit to merge man with machine, to surpass biology. Some even promise eternal life through technology. But this isn't progress, it's rebellion against God. And it's not new, it's the same lie whispered in the Garden of Eden: you will be like God. Here's the truth. No machine, no matter how advanced, has a soul. It cannot love, it has no empathy, it cannot pray, and it does not believe in God. That's why we as Christians must lead in the AI revolution. Like Nehemiah, we must build now. So how is Dominus Lab doing it? Dominus Lab is a fast track from idea to market. We connect and empower university students, business mentors, startups, and investors. Let's say you have a great business idea, but no money, no clue where to start. That's where we come in. We help you craft a business plan, land your first customers, and connect you with faith-based investors, all free of charge and in the fastest and most effective way that you can imagine. And because this mission is so crucial, we're doing it alongside some of the world's top investors and business mentors. The best parts, they're also Christians, and we're starting right now. 2025 is our pilot and fundraising year, and we're hosting 8 powerful events. 5 inspiration events, online and offline, to spark bold ideas. 2 business plan mastery workshops in April and in August to get market traction fast. And in December, the pitch and investor workshop in Las Vegas, where selected startups have the chance to meet with investors in person. Dominus Lab is a global movement. We are launching in North America, but that's just the beginning. Our vision is global. We are already planning to scale across Europe, South America, Asia, Africa, and Australia. With our board member, Anton Fessler, based in Switzerland, Europe is likely next for Dominus Lab expansion. The journey starts now, and we have big plans. By 2030, we're trying to set a new standard. We will host almost 500 events worldwide. We will help create 1,000 new Christian AI startups. This is our mission. And to make it happen, we need the best people from around the world. So who is already on board? We just founded a 501c3 nonprofit in California, and our board includes Marcus Bohe, Anton Fessler, and myself, all seasoned serial entrepreneurs with global experience. But we're not stopping there. We're looking for a 4th board member, someone with deep theological expertise to help us shape this mission. We are also honored and privileged to have 2 outstanding advisors. Tim Connors, Managing Director at Pivot North, a 4-time Forbes Midas List awardee, and amazing entrepreneurs and system thinker. Then also Konrad Hummler, a renowned Swiss banker, investor, and former managing partner of the oldest private bank in Switzerland, Wegelin & Co. We already have incredible people on board, but this mission is bigger than us, and we are actively looking for more people. So if you feel God calls you to host an event at your school, university, church, and so on, or found a local Dominus Lab chapter, or become a startup mentor, then please contact us immediately. And again, it's really urgent, because business without God is more dangerous than you think, especially in the digital age. It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, disguised as progress. And let me show you quickly the facts. First, data is exploding. From 2010 to 2018, the data volume grew from 2 zettabytes to 33 zettabytes. And a zettabyte has 21 zeros, just for reference. But then from 2018 to the end of 2025, experts forecast that will grow to 181 zettabytes, or over 9,000% growth over the last 15 years. And I agree, this is exciting and there are amazing capabilities coming with it. This is also a danger and a big distractor for our youth. And let's have a look at screen time 30 years ago. It was already 15% or about 2 hours per day. Now it tripled to over 45% or to over 7 hours per day on average. I imagine that all the parents have no hard time to confirm that. And why is this alarming? Excessive screen time has been associated with adverse health outcome, including poor sleep habits, fatigue, and symptoms of anxiety and depression. So according to Pew Research, the total number of teenagers who recently experienced depression increased 59% between 2007 with the start of the iPhone and 2017. The rate of growth was faster for teen girls, 66%, than for boys, only 44%. Now, the digital transformation is not only impacting teenagers. Let's have a look how it changed how couples meet and stay together. And this data is based on a Stanford study, and it shows that 30 years ago, most of the relationships started to friends, co-workers, bar, restaurants, and so on. Today, over 60% of the relationships start online. That is an increase of over 5,000%. It completely changed how we are interacting with each other. So let me ask you a question, and please put your answer in the chat. In a world where we are spending more and more time online, does it really matter that the most influential digital companies are not Christian companies? Please type now yes or no in the chat. And for me personally, while you're doing this, it's clear yes. Just think about how the Wall Street Journal uncovered that Meta have guided users to child sex content, or those who have read Elon Musk's biography, where Larry Page called Elon Musk a speciesist for prioritizing humans over AI. Or think back to Trump's inauguration, where tech leaders from Google and Amazon and Meta and others were in attendance. It raised a crucial question. Is there only God money, or do their companies stand for something more? Or a new lawsuit claims Roblox is a hunting ground for child sex predators, exposing major failures in its safety measure despite stricter controls. I don't know about you, but I want to imagine a world where the next Amazon, Google, Meta, Netflix are Christian companies. And this would change a lot, right? Is this just wishful thinking, or do we actually have a fair shot? And let me show you the data. So the good news is that Gen Z is the most entrepreneurial generation ever, even more than millennials. But even millennials are very entrepreneurial. 66% of millennials dream of starting a company. That nearly tripled. Entrepreneurs like Musk and Zuckerberg aren't just business leaders, they're cultural icons. And entrepreneurship doesn't just build companies, it shapes culture. It fuels innovation, drives economies, and creates opportunities, especially for developing countries and immigrants. And right now, entrepreneurial activity is booming. Every day in the US alone, we create 10,000 businesses. Innovation isn't slowing down, it's speeding up. The world is being rebuilt in real time. And just to be clear, that's 400 new ventures every hour, 7 every minute, and 1 startup every 10 seconds. So while I was showing you this slide, there was another new business built, and hopefully a Christian one. And there's a lot of hope and reason why we should build Christian businesses. And the reason is they are amazingly successful. Chick-fil-A dominates the fast food industry with an industry-leading 9.3 million in average unit volume per store, all while being closed on Sundays. Hobby Lobby thrives with 900 plus stores, staying debt-free and highly profitable. Hello, the top Catholic prayer app, has 10 million downloads and 100 million in funding, making it a leader in faith-based tech. These companies prove that strong Christian values and smart growth lead to extraordinary success. And with this amazing example, let's turn to our speakers, because Peggy is nothing short of amazing. And Peggy is a serial entrepreneur and proud mother of 5. She brings boundless energy and an unwavering focus to everything she does. Her passion is really contagious, and it's an honor to have her join us for the first Dominus Ideas. And by the way, Dominus Lab is also leveraging Peggy's new AI community platform, Winly, powered by the latest AI technology. And you see there the QR code, just scan it, and if you want, join that community for free. Peggy, thank you so much for joining, and the floor is yours.
Dominik, thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here. I woke up this morning and this was something I was so excited about doing, because even though I can't see everybody's face during a webinar, I can feel that you're there, and I'd love to see your names in the chat, or at least where you're from. This is really a beginning of something quite amazing, and I'm thrilled to be, the first person that he's introducing here. I am, as he said, a mom of 5. I am starting my 5th company in 15 years. I've had 3 companies that have been a successful exit. I've spent my entire career building communities of people around an amazing brand. And the brand at one point was actually the church, and then leveraging technology for greater reach. So that has really been my passion. I'm extremely passionate about college students, young entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs. So anybody on this call, I'd love to be able to connect with you. Vinly is my newest platform, and we're looking to find new ways for people to convene or meet and take conversations, turning those into communities for greater impact. And why I think this is important, as Dominik said, I believe that we are living in an age where there is more loneliness than ever before, because many of us, including my 5 children, spend time at night scrolling content on our phones, not always the most wonderful content, sometimes content that makes us feel worse about ourselves for many reasons, right? So we want to change that and turn that upside down with Vinly. We want to take groups like this and many other groups that we're dealing with that turn a conversation into a community that turns into action, because there's so many things that we care about: homelessness, poverty, violence, that if we can continue to get the right people talking, we can solve the biggest problems in the world. And that is going to start with younger generations as well, getting on board. So that's why I'm so supportive of what Dominik is building. I'm excited to be here and happy to help anybody along the way that I can. And if you join us on Vinly, we're going to have some good conversations.
Thank you so much, Peggy. And you had a secret tip for me when I joined Winly, and I was so excited about doing that because it really brings people together that usually don't get together. But there is a secret tip you gave me how you best connect there. So what is it? Will you share it?
The secret tip is that when you build your profile, feel free to put in their information, things that you're looking for. If you're looking for a mentor in accounting, or if you're moving to San Francisco and you're looking for you want to work for a startup, or if you are in LA and you're looking to help a young founder, if the more information you put in your profile, the better the social graphing can do to introduce you to people that can help you along the way and reach out their hand, and we can make introductions for you.
So you're saying me, if I say I'm a startup and looking for an investor, the AI will find me and connect me with investors. Is that how it's working?
Yeah, we're going to have opportunities to be able to search for certain people, and then we're going to be pairing and introducing people as well through the platform itself. So the first part is just, come into the Dominus Lab and let's have conversation with everybody that I can't see their faces today. And then as I get to know people through the AI, we're going to be able to make introductions to help people with, who knows? I mean, I think it's an endless amount of possibilities, but the more we talk, the more we learn about you, the more we can enable the AI to make good introductions, really meaningful introductions. That's what we want to do.
That's amazing. Yeah. And therefore Peggy had me in the first second when she told me that their community is built on trust and then really leveraging technology. And I was like, we have to be there, because here we're building a global community. We are connecting everyone. And I just see by interacting now with Peggy what collaboration can really spark. We are now really making intros to other people and seeing other connections. So that's really, really the secret sauce behind it. I'm so grateful that we can use your platform and being part of it. So thank you so much, Peggy.
Oh.
Good. Then The Pope and the CEO is one of the best books I've read in recent times. And in it, Andreas shares powerful lessons from his time as a Swiss guard and personal bodyguard for Pope St. John Paul II, shaping his vision of leadership, faith, and service. And his journey from the Vatican to the world of business is truly inspiring. So if you haven't read that book, please pick it up. And we are honored to have him at Dominus Ideas. And Andreas, are you here? The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me all right?
We can, yes, absolutely.
Peggy, it's good to see you as always. I have to say I'm a beta user of Windley, and I'm very impressed with it. I've had the honor to work with Peggy on a couple of things now, and I'm a super fan. She is definitely what it takes to be a Christian entrepreneur, and just does wonderful work. So I recommend you all jump in and help her with this newest project. So just a little bit about me. I'm a what's called a clinical professor. That is, I'm a professor who doesn't have a PhD. Teaching is not my career. I was always an entrepreneur, but now I'm teaching. And one of the side effects of starting to teach is that you get very long-winded because they can't go anywhere. You're in a room with all these students; they have to stay. So now you're here in front of me, and I know I promised you, Dominik, I'm going to do this in 10 minutes, but I have a lot to cram in, and I want to take a bit of a different approach. Peggy talked a bit about the companies and everything, gives you an example of what a Christian company does. And I want to take you back and talk to you a little bit, using my story, tell you a little bit about the why behind of what's different about a Christian company from an outside perspective and sort of the underworking of it. Anyway, so just like Dominik, I'm from Switzerland. Same accent we have both. I was born in the city of Lucerne, Switzerland, and grew up there in a little village outside. Anyway, me in school, we didn't get along with each other early in my life. The only thing I excelled at was the military, which is mandatory. And then I found out I could become a bodyguard, and I thought that was the coolest thing you could possibly do. So I signed up, and then I found out I'd have to go and protect the Pope, which was okay with me, but I wasn't particularly religious. I come from the Catholic part of Switzerland, so I was Catholic, but I wasn't really consciously, that this was not my religion, it was my parents' religion. As soon as I entered the Swiss Guards, which is a foreign legion, you have to get up your passport and go in there, and then the door closes behind you. I regretted it right away. Way tougher. I thought I went there to be cool. I didn't went there to be uncomfortable. It was way harder than I thought it was. It's an elite, it's a bona fide elite military unit, not for the faint of heart and not for me. But once you're in, you give up your passport. It's like the Foreign Legion. Like, the doors are closed. We own you for 2 years, and you're in. I was miserable, and I happened to be, and eventually, you work as a bodyguard. You work next to the person, but also in the vicinity to sort of secure the perimeter. And I met John Paul II the first time in a situation where I was very down. I was very not happy to be there. I was thinking, how can I get out of here? Anyway, he interacted with me. I met him for the first time. He comes up to me, and he actually, what I would say now, read my soul. Like, he saw me, and he said, I'm happy that you're here. I was actually crying, to tell you the truth. But he kind of embraced me and said, look, I'm happy that you're here. You will see, we will work together well. And he offered to pray for me and so on. Every interaction after that, it's sort of interesting to be a bodyguard. It's like you see the Pope from the outside in a very formal way, but if you work with somebody 24/7 and you protect them on everything they do, you go everywhere they go, that becomes a relationship where there's not no protocol. Like, I wouldn't talk to him unless he talks to me or so, but you get used to each other, right? And I saw him not as the Pope. I saw him as this man who was very kind to me and was always offering to pray for me, and started to grow in my view as the person that I was like looking at this man and saying, whatever this guy has, that's what I want. I fell in love with what he had. And at first I thought it was him, and then he would refuse my admiration and say, what you want is Jesus Christ, which is what you like in me is my relationship with Christ, and you can have that too. Taught me how to pray, really converted me to Christ, right? And it sounds crazy from the outside, but this was my boss, right? And I wanted so much what he had, and I started to love my job. And I thought, and I always remember how he would say, when we work, we don't just make more, we become more. Isn't that beautiful? And I thought, this is it, because I'm part of his ministry, and and everything. And it was really cool, and I really flourished in that. I found myself under his guidance. I found who I was going to be, and so eventually I was done with my service, and I left. I met my wife in Rome, and I came to America. I didn't speak a word of English, but I was very blessed with a career here. I went to Boston, Massachusetts. I was involved in a very early internet company. We ported TCP/IP to the PC, called FTP Software. We went public in 1993. That tells you how early we were, right? We were one of the first big internet IPOs. I then joined Dragon Systems early on, which is the company who invented speech recognition, anything in speech that you use now, and large language models, which is AI kind of idea early on. And also ePrize, which is web content management. I was very blessed with these companies. We eventually, two things happened at the same time. I started to when you work in business, in startups, everything is an emergency. And it became, the emergency itself became dull. Everything was, if you're always under stress, then stress becomes boring. And I sort of started to burn out because I felt like a cog in a machine. And then the one thing that happened after as well, which was just a shocking thing, is I come to America. I live the American dream. And we sold a company, Dragon Systems, for something like $600 million. And I didn't own much of this, but a little piece, my little piece. And we sold the company, and it turned out afterwards that we sold it to a fraudulent company. I mean, the company wasn't fraudulent, but they were frauds, and they cheated, and the whole thing crashed. Can you imagine? In one day, $600 million, poof, goes away. I started to question this and said, maybe the American dream is not a true dream. It's a nightmare. And I sort of came back. I was always I continued to be a Catholic, but more like on Sunday, not during the week. But I mean, I couldn't see the connection, right, between my faith and my work. And I went back. I did two things. I asked myself, I would say it was a real burnout. I asked myself, can I be a Christian capitalist? That's really what I'm asking, right? Sorry. And I did two things about it. The one is I didn't want to go back to business school. I basically joined a very prestigious strategy consulting firm called Monitor Group. It's the business school, the Harvard Business School consulting firm. I joined Monitor Group, and I ran one of their companies that focused on uncertain environments like emerging markets and things like that, competitiveness, country competitiveness. Because I thought maybe I misunderstand business, maybe there's something I'm missing, And then on the other hand, on the Christian answer of it, I said, I need to get to know my faith more. And so I actually went into seminary and started to study ministry at St. John's Seminary in Boston, Massachusetts. And I did find an answer. And my answer is what Dominik was just referring to. I wrote an answer to myself, for myself. and I called it The Pope and the CEO. Can we be friends again? And sort of a play of words. But my catharsis is what I learned is that book, The Pope and the CEO. And I just want to give you a very brief insight. Dominik, you asked us to give us a little insight of our journey. And let me just tell you something. I'm going to connect the two things for you. I'm going to play this like John Paul would break open the word for us. It's beautiful. Did you ever notice that animals can't work? I don't mean a donkey pulling a cart or something like that. I mean creating something like, penicillin. Or I was a part of the people who brought the internet to the PC, or I know the engineers who invented speech recognition, and then we helped them produce a product with this. I mean, this is creative. This is when I see Siri now, I feel a little pride because I see this is a little peak. I was a little part of this, I mean, create like that. No animal does that, but I'm an animal. So why? I'm also an animal. Why can I do it and they can't? The answer to that is because I'm not just an animal. I'm an animal that is made in the image and likeness of the Creator.
Yes.
That's why I can create. And if we go into Genesis, what we can see is that I'm actually made like an animal. God took dust, the clay, and formed the animals. And when God said, I need somebody like me here, somebody who is acting, as subjects, so who can act, and will never die, and all these attributes. And then God did the same thing again, grabbed the clay and formed the human animal. But then he did one thing more. Breathe his spirit into that human animal to say, and it's the creator spirit. God doesn't in that sense look like us, of course. We are more like an animal on that side, but we have that extra, that we're an incarnate spirit, that spirit of the creator is within us, with each one of us. And then he gave us this supernatural mandate, the stewardship mandate, to say, listen, I need you to continue what I have started here. I created the world, I created the universe. I make you the steward, continue creation. And we call that work. Yep. So now I get to, just like God, create things that are good, that I could say in the evening, and he saw that it was good, But I have, just like God, the free will to do not that and do something else, because I'm like God. I have a free will. I can do good or evil if I want to, right? And everything I can create is out of an abundance. Did you ever think that God never created anything that isn't profitable? Everything is abundant on earth that God creates. Now, that is what we're called to do in work. This is the spiritual idea of the work, of the what you would call a Christian anthropology, right? John Paul II wrote a whole book about this. He called it Theology of the Body. And this is sort of what I'm doing is I'm interpreting this for you. And here's the trick. So every time you work, when you create a company, Dominik, when you create Dominus Labs, you create something. Tomorrow there will be something here that wasn't there yesterday. Mm-hmm. When you're doing that, you're directly imitating God. God is allowing you to participate in his creativity of the world. That's such a privilege. That's a Christian privilege of us humans, But it's not only that. It's not only that you can create more on earth, in creation. But let me ask you, what happens when you imitate somebody? You become more like them. Mm-hmm. And what is God? God is holy. When you participate with God like this, you become more holy. You become more like God. And that is why we say that work is a path to holiness, a part of the path to holiness. Because you see, when we work, we don't just make more, we become more. And that's sort of John Paul's riddle that he left me with when I left in the Swiss Guards, that he would always say, when we work more, we don't just make more, we become more. It took me all these years, almost 30 years after I left him, to say, now I understand. And today I teach in a business school, and I'm trying to work with the students to start their business with this in mind. And we can go into details more in the Q&A and so on, but I just wanted to share with you to say, what is a Christian company and where does it come from? And I think it starts to come from this, that we have a calling to create goods that are truly good and to provide services that truly serve.
Please don't stop, Andreas. I could listen for hours, and again, please get the book and read through it. The business stories are amazing. They resonate so much with me. Also, how you describe it so beautifully when you go through those different phases in your business journey. And the one thing that I really wanna echo here is you are, when we look at the saints, they start with prayer, but afterwards they have always work. It's like a big part is in work, and then there's prayer and meditation, everything, but a big part is work in there. So
God describes us as workers in the vineyard, and I think we are. Now there's different work to be done and so on. But I have a strong conviction that we are all made in the image and likeness of the Creator, and we create all day long. But we participate properly when we're consciously participating. Yeah. That makes our work our prayer, right? Because communion with God, right, is prayer. And so that's a very powerful thing, and we can go into more details on that kind of thing.
But this is a beautiful bridge to our next speaker, because our next speaker, when I met with him, he told me, and I asked him, how can I connect during my work to God so that I have, usually I'm working, I completely forget I'm in the work. And he said, like, he's praying the Angelus. And since then I pray like 3 or 4 times the Angelus, that little prayer, and it completely grounds me, and I would never give that up. So thank you, Andreas, for that. And now let's move on with Daniel. And like I already told you, like Nehemiah rebuilding Jerusalem's wall, Daniel Cruz is restoring integrity to healthcare. And as the founder of Presidio Healthcare, the first pro-life health insurance company, he's building a system rooted in faith, family, and values. And launching in Texas this year in 2025, Presidio upholds stewardship, subsidiarity, and solidarity, giving families a healthcare option that aligns with their beliefs. And we're honored to have Daniel at Dominus Ideas. Daniel, the floor is yours. Would you like to share your screen, or are you
Yes,
good?
yeah. I did have a little thing to present here, and Andreas and Peggy, it was wonderful to hear of your guys' background, and I think that for this group, I see myself as a little bit different from them. I'm kind of the newer one into entrepreneurship. Just started a few years back, and mostly what I want to talk to is those that feel that are on the edge of a call. Maybe there's an idea that God's put on your heart, or maybe there's like you're in a secular realm and you're like, I feel like God's calling me to do something else. I was in your shoes 2 years ago. I did not expect to form the nation's first Christian health insurance company. But God kept drawing me into it. And so what I'm going to talk to is just like 3 little lessons that I took away from that. And hopefully if you're, on that edge of thinking about your own business or a calling that God's putting on your heart, that maybe this can inspire you to take that first step. And I'm going to share a screen. I don't know if I'm sharing the right screen. Let me know if it says mission and vocation, Dominik.
It does. It does.
It does. All right. Yes. We're good. And I'm going to put this on to read mode here. All right. So the first thing is I should probably start with exactly my background here. I'm a Catholic. My wife is, we're expecting our 5th child here in the next year. 4 beautiful children out here in San Diego. I'm an actuary by trade, so I was the one that creates your premium rates in health insurance and manages the risk for health insurers. And my story really starts with my vocation. So that's really my first area of message, is speaking to how focusing on your vocation, what God is calling to you in a state of life, can surprisingly bring you into entrepreneurship, or can surprisingly bring you into a call that you weren't expecting. So This picture here is something I share of how I started down the road of building a health insurance company. My family is right there with the bishop here in San Diego, and I had the honor a few years back to carry Our Lady into a beautiful prayer event called a May crowning, where we crown Mary as Queen of Heaven. And we worship really Christ as the King of the universe with Mary as the Queen Mother, right? And it's this beautiful prayer event that I got to take my family to. But a few years back, I left this event to go back to work with my family, and I get into my car and I pick up my cell phone, and the first email that I see is a insurance company client of mine saying, "Daniel, can you calculate the cost of abortion for our health plan?" And this was one of these kind of heart-wrenching moments, this moment where, I'm saying that Christ is the king of everything in my life, yet the way that I make a living for my family ultimately comes at serving insurance companies that are against Christ or against the dignity of the human person. And so from that moment, I prayerfully discerned, how do you draw me out of healthcare into something rather beautiful, something that actually promotes the dignity of the human person? And the lesson learned there, there was a couple of steps in there that I had, friends that kind of helped me formulate the idea. I actually was an industry expert, so I was able to know the steps to form the insurance company and have an actual business plan that's workable, so on and so forth. But the biggest thing I want this group to kind of think about is how, I'm not the type of person, I'm not part of that 66% that Dominik put up there that was like, I want to start a business, I want to be an entrepreneur. I was rather focused on my vocation of serving my family, serving my wife, and being able to provide for her and being a good worker for my employer. And out of that, God called me really as an extension of that vocation. And he made it very obvious that this is what you need to do. And you need to bring your family into this mission. And so that's the lesson. It's kind of like, you think of some of the apostles, they were just fishermen. They weren't out there saying, I want to go and be the heads of a church. But it's something about like being faithful to your vocation that ultimately God's going to bless you and bring about your calling.
Yeah.
So one of the things I would say if you're in college, especially, like, yes, like pursue skills and you can go to the business classes and think about entrepreneurship and all these things, but also be very, very intentional about pursuing your vocation, because that's primarily what God wants from you is a relationship with you, our primary vocation of holiness, of being in communion with Christ. But also, what's the state of your life? Is he drawing you into the priesthood? Is he drawing you into being a mother or a father? That's really where he wants you to focus your attention on, focus your time in prayer, and then trust in God that ultimately his calling and his work for you may be an extension of that, and he's going to draw you into that adventure. So that's one big lesson that I learned. The second lesson is we have an extraordinary moment in today's society for people that simply tell the truth. And I put up a comedian here, a news person, Matt Walsh. You may have known him. He came out with a popular movie, What is a Woman? And I would say that Matt Walsh is not a very funny guy, actually. Like, I don't find him to be that great of a comedian. But in today's day and age, him putting forth a question that's just simply standing up and raising his hand and saying, wait a second, let me say this. All of a sudden, he's like one of the most watched comedians, even though I think on a talent-wise, he's not even that funny. Why? Because people are hungry for truth. And in a sense, I've seen my career in a similar light, which is even before I created Presidio Healthcare, I became very well known in the actuarial world simply because, in a sense, I was like the Matt Walsh of the actuaries. There were moments where I just put my hand up. I'm not the smartest. I'm not the best and most, tech-minded actuary out there. But I was able to see things and just honestly say, like, wait a second, there's something wrong here. And that's what this example here is. It's I'm not going to go into the details of what this graph represents, but this is what made me famous in the actuarial world, which is this blue and green line, this little L here, is where the premium rate slopes should be. And the rest of these squiggly lines is all where the California health insurance companies were at. Now, the point is that actuaries were violating the law and creating this disparity when there should have been uniformity. And I simply had the guts to say, hey, this is wrong, and here's why. I said it to the folks that covered California. We got in trouble for saying that. I said it to other states across the country. We got in trouble for that. I even had people try to take away my credentials as an actuary because I stood up and said, hey, this is what's happening. This is just simply what it is. And I say this as a strong lesson to anyone who's going into the workforce, which is, it used to be maybe when more people were telling the truth, you had to be extremely intelligent, extremely this to get ahead. This is actually an incredible opportunity where we are at a point of lack of truth, that if you simply hold to the truths of the Catholic faith, you hold to integrity, you are going to stand out in every single work environment that you are if you have the courage to do so. So absolutely have the courage to stand up for your faith, stand up for truth, and God will bless that, but also society's so hungry for it that you're going to stand up and look different in the crowd. So that was number 2, one of the biggest lessons there. And number 3, this is anybody in the chat. This is a little bonus point. If anybody can point out what the movie on the left hand is, it's Martin Sheen. And Dominik, let me know if anyone gets this. But this is Martin Sheen. There's little Charlie Sheen like cameo in this movie. But
Nobody so far.
Nobody. Okay, so I'll give a little clue here. The movie on the left hand is called The Fourth Wise Man. It's a beautiful film, wonderful film, beautiful story about the fourth wise man that missed Jesus, and he had his gifts prepared for him. And then he spends the next 30 years chasing Jesus, trying to give him his gifts, but he keeps missing him because he gets distracted by the poor, the weak, the lame that he helps serves, right? And so you can already kind of guess and get the sense of what the moral of the story is. Now, the point of why I'm bringing this up is that that's an actual still frame. The quality is actually what that is. And Christian entertainment in the 1980s and 1990s was very poorly produced. And the stories are beautiful that I'm going to watch it. My family will watch it. Christians will watch it, right? But that's about it. Whereas everybody knows what the other picture is, that picture of what has taken over the world with 200 million viewers globally, The Chosen, something that's beautifully produced. It's high class. It's exceptional. And the result is you get massive people who are hungry for something beautiful and points them to Christ. The lesson that I've learned in this is that storytelling belongs to Christ. Storytelling is God's way of communicating to us. It belongs to us, not the secular industry. So I love the movements from the entertainment industry that says we're going to reclaim what belongs to Christ. Storytelling, we're going to reclaim it. And you know what? God's going to bless that when you go out and try to reclaim it. And I think you see that with some of the movements in the entertainment industry. I think what Dominik's talking about right now is AI, these things, these creative innovations that Andreas talked about, like being human, that belongs to God, that belongs to Christ. What you're doing in building a company is you're solving problems that matter to people. Right? You're serving people. Serving people belongs to Christ. So therefore, go out and reclaim it, and God's going to bless that, which is what we did at Presidio Healthcare. That's the reason why we're doing is that healthcare belongs to Christ, right? It should rightfully be ours to administer because we're going to administer it faithfully in line with his teachings. So that is my final, just takeaway for everyone in the group is this is so important at this juncture to view business as a way to honor God, follow your mission, but also reclaim what is rightfully his. And so I just ask anyone on here, are you chosen to build for Christ? Good. Is what I would like to leave you guys with. And I'll stop sharing my screen at this point.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And I put the movie into the chat window. Please check if that's the right one.
The fourth wise. Yes. This is everyone go watch The Fourth Wise Man. It's on Formed. It's wonderful.
Thank you so much. It was so impressive and so many good lessons in it. And all the best for your important mission, Daniel. Now we're switching a little bit gears. We are going into the this or that panel. It will be fast, bold, and straight to the point. So our speaker will make a choice between two options, and while they share their answers, I will launch a poll so you can also vote for your own choices. And we will start with you, Peggy, first, and Andreas, and finally Daniel. And then for the second question, Andreas will go first, followed by Daniel, and then Peggy. So we keep rotating who starts to keep things interesting. So the first question, let me quickly get that out of the way, is about the big idea. It's about inspiration or perspiration. And the question is really, do the best ideas come from sudden flashes of insights or from consistent hard work and problem solving? Something you mentioned, Daniel, just a minute before. And Peggy, what do you think? And while you're answering, I will also launch the poll for our people online. So Peggy, what is your take on this one?
Okay, so you said we can give a little bit of commentary. So I say inspiration because during COVID, that was an extremely, I experienced for the first time in my life real anxiety. And also being a spiritual director, I understood that meant I had to sit with, why was I feeling that much anxiety? What was that all about, right? Well, in times like the Great Depression, war times, COVID, sometimes when we can be consciously aware, as Andreas said, of what God is trying to say in the stillness, that's where some of the greatest ideas come from. And I believe that's when I was led to some of my next inspiration, but I had to start to be comfortable with the silence. So that's what I say.
That's a good one. Andreas, what do you think? Inspiration or perspiration?
Let me just unmute myself. I'm going to go with perspiration. I'm saying the focus should be on perspiration. You may have an idea, but no idea ends up in the market the way you started with. And so the longest process of entrepreneurship is iteration. I insist. So I start a business with every student in my class. It's 200 students in the fall. And what I want to show them is ship something, get something out there so we can start to improve it. Because every idea, I don't care who you are, your idea is going to be mediocre, and the market will help you shape it. And that's there's perspiration.
That's a good one. That's good. By the way, we are currently, the poll is 57% inspiration and 43% perspiration. Daniel, what do you think?
I'm going to go with perspiration. I think that, when you're solving a problem, you figure out exactly what your first thoughts were right or first thoughts were wrong. And I definitely think that's where the ideas can ultimately come about, where oftentimes maybe there's like an inspiration as a kind of like from a lens from a distance that seems right until you actually like try to put it in motion. So I'm going to go with perspiration for the big idea.
Got it. Now, our second question is about how to start. So is it smarter to leverage outside money or to bootstrap? So the question really is it smarter to use partnership and other people resources, or should you start small and build everything yourself? And Andreas, what do you think? And while you're answering again, I will launch the poll for everybody else.
The two big companies I was involved with were both DARPA funded. So talk about getting outside money. You have to deliver, but it's basically DARPA funded. But my answer today, you have to be contextual of what you're doing. Where I'm standing today, I'm a huge fan of bootstrapping, and one of my favorite books on business is called The $100 Startup by Chris Gilbo. And I think all the way bootstrap until you get your paying customers, and then you leverage. And I give you a heads up of why that is. because you give so much away in the beginning when you get the money. You have nothing to offer. You have to give your company away to somebody else for the investment. It's much better to build it first and then, at least to show that there's customers. Get some paying customers and then you can bring in others.
Thank you, Andreas. And we have currently 100% bootstrap and also great inputs from the chat. Most internet sources suggest only about 1% of startup gets funded. What is the DL community's underlying belief about economic returns over financial to marginalized communities in the US? What's your take, Daniel?
On the question of leverage or bootstrap, I'll stick to the boot. I go bootstrap. It would be my between the two. Now, I am the guy that came in here. I had to raise, $5 million to get a health insurance company off the ground, and part of that may be why I'm saying bootstrap, because it is, as Andreas said, very, very hard to raise money when you have 0 customers and you're just in a team and an idea. So whenever you can just get something into the market and build it from scratch and show that you can get traction, I think that would be the way to go if you can do it.
Good. Peggy, I know where you're going.
No, I'm going to be the outsider and be the bad one and say leverage with other people's money. But I'm in maybe a different boat because I've done this several times. But yes, you fundamentally have to have a minimal viable product, which may mean that you are starting small, obviously, developing it on your own with bootstrapping it. But I've done raising money from friends and family, and that is extremely stressful. And I think if you're going to start a company and it's really a good idea, leverage someone's money that can get behind you. Guess what? If no one's going to get behind you, it may not be a great idea. and I'm sorry if you are going to put your family at risk and lose your kids' college funds and your retirement and your house because you had an idea. I don't think that's smart. So I say get a minimal viable product and then raise money.
That's good. By the way, we have 100% of the responses are currently bootstrap, and great questions. If you want to, just people online, if you want to add some more flavor, then just put it in the chat like David just did. So thank you for that.
I think Peggy convinced me though. I got to flip my vote on that one. That was good.
So next one is the top success factor, and the choice is between talent or tenacity. And the question is, what matters more, natural ability or sheer perseverance in overcoming obstacles? Daniel, what do you think? And again, I will launch the poll right away.
Yeah, these are all tough. Because talent, it's like you can overcome so much with expertise sometimes. Like you go down the right paths, especially when you're building a team. If you build a right talented team. But as a founder, I would say tenacity. Absolutely. I was, no matter how much talent, me and my co-founder had and how much expertise we had, we were just pushed to the limit to just have conviction about what we're doing. And it was simply that conviction that got us through, and prayer that got us through moments when we otherwise would have given up. So I'm gonna say tenacity.
Good. Thank you. Peggy.
Tenacity. And I think my VC always says there's 3 things: grit, goodness, and smarts. And for me, what it came down to was I'm scrappy. I mean, I've got grit. So that's one thing. And I've got some goodness, I guess. Smarts, I don't know about that. But part of my journey has been understanding and playing to my strengths and not beating myself up for things that I'm not good at, but really partnering and finding people that have those beautiful, wonderful strengths. So part of my tenacity was a little bit of humbling, okay, these are things I'm not good at, but I'm going to find someone that I can partner with. That's
great. And Ivona just put in #NeverGiveUp smiley. So that's I think that resonates with what you just said. Andreas, what do you think?
If you would ask my son and my students as well, I'm famous for saying, I have never in my life been the best at anything I've done. But I'm the last man standing a lot. And that's how you win. That's how you win fights or competitions, is to be the last man standing. That's tenacity.
That's so good. That's so good. Yeah. Then number 4, we're going into overcoming challenges and fears, like the fear of rejections that we all have, or the fear to start and so on. So is it better to have the right mindset or the right strategy? And what is your take, Peggy? And while you're answering for everybody else, I'm launching the poll right away.
The best advice I think I ever got from my mother was around mindset, and it was somewhat strategic. She said, when you feel like you've got a challenge, there are times that you have to make decisions based on a head decision. Sometimes you have to make a heart decision, but sometimes you have to figure out when you need to use a combination of both. A little bit of the heart and a little bit of the head. So for me, all business is about numbers and strategy and data, but I think it comes from trying to have a good mindset around the strategy.
So you're choosing strategy.
I'm choosing mindset. I'm probably going to be different than Andreas and Daniel, but that's okay. I'm confident in who I am.
Okay. That's completely okay. So Andreas, what are you choosing? By the way, mindset is currently 75% up. Strategy is 25.
You know how I said there's a Christian approach to business, and there's so many Christian concepts that I think are our best, kept secrets. And one, a very Christian concept is the both and approach. In Christianity, God is both, Jesus is both fully man and fully God, right? Mm-hmm. And then if you go through this is a very, you can look this up. Bishop Barron has a beautiful presentation around this, that when you're, and this is something we can use in entrepreneurship, when you're faced with a either or, most likely you should go for both end. And so here, of course, as well, I mean, this is why we're differing on this. The smart kid isn't going to ask, can I have ice cream or not? They're going to ask, can I have pistachio or vanilla ice cream, right? And or the other one, or how much ice cream can I have? And so here as well, it's actually the mindset wins, also because the mindset tells you how to think about the problem in the first place. All of the challenges we're facing, we can also interpret as spiritual challenges of the enemy trying to make us not flourish. If we have good intent and we try to build something that is truly a life-giving good company, like what Daniel and Peggy are doing right now, then you can see all the challenges in your way, either sort of a kind of spiritual attack, but you can also look at them, other challenges that are the obstacles in your way where you're supposed to grow through. They're growing challenges for you to overcome and learn something that the Father wants to teach you. And so in that sense, the mindset really wins, because it's in how you're looking at this, in how you're going to solve it. So one of the chapters in my book is Culture Eats Strategy for Breakfast. I know it's a very trade thing, but
we just had that one in the chat. So we somebody just posted that, and somebody, Maria, also said like a little bit of head, a little bit of heart, motherly wisdom, yeah. Peggy. So and a shout out to David, who could he could be a panelist here because he's a professor and a business professor and a writer. So David, next time you should be on the panel. Definitely. Good. Daniel, what do you think?
So I'll be the contrarian. I'll say strategy. And the reason I think about this is, like, oftentimes when faced with challenges, I have found that you're so anxious to solve the challenge that you rush through the process to solve it. That's why I kind of land on strategy is usually have a little bit more time than you think to take a moment, go with your team, figure out exactly what you think the best path is forward for a particular challenge, and then set up that strategy and that game plan, and then you can reassess and actually have a process for analyzing it. So I'm one of those that are very impatient in terms of, like, I like the solution immediate, and then act. And so I just personally, I found that slowing down, strategizing has always helped.
Good. Yeah. And there's a great conversation going on in the chat if you want to have a look as well. So please keep coming these comments and also add more context to it. And with that, we are already on the last question, and it's about the best thing about faith. So the question is the greatest strength of faith the personal confidence it provides or the support from like-minded believers? And Andreas, you have to start for this one. So what's your take on this one?
I'm going to play by the rules and don't say both and. So if I'm sticking to the rules, I'm going to go with confidence, simply because look at Moses, right? You got to go with the confidence to actually say, okay, let's go and do this. And if you're looking at the community, there's so many things you're taking into account that something worthwhile doing entails so many risks that if you go with the democracy about it, you're not going to get there. Like if he would have voted, they would have never gotten out of the desert, right? And so I think the best entrepreneurs I have seen, they will a vision into reality. Literally, they will. It's like the belief where in our faith, where you say your faith could move mountains. They will a vision into reality because it takes that kind of commitment.
Great. Daniel.
I'm going to say community. And this was actually, if I had a fourth lesson, I probably would have put this was, it's been very surprising for me to see all of the relationships that I've built over time in my professional world and in my personal life that I had no idea would actually help me on the entrepreneurial side. And so I think God uses people in your lives in special ways. And I'll give one example just as so when I created my first pitch deck for our concept, I just sent it to a group chat for my friends here in the Catholic Church, in my local church. And someone says, I know exactly who to send this to. And I had no idea that he had this relationship in the VC world. And, that guy looked at it and said, your pitch deck sucks. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. But he helped me like understand how to present things to the VC world. And so I use that as an example of community, because God can just draw people out of nowhere that you wouldn't expect to help you along your path.
That's a good one. Thanks for sharing that. Peggy.
All right, I'm going to give you a fast little story. When we're born, we're like a glass of milk, okay? And then when we get baptized, it's like God is squeezing chocolate into the milk, and it's sitting at the bottom. And then at confirmation, he stirs the milk up, and all of a sudden it's like chocolatey, yummy, right? Those are what I consider, what I've been trained are spiritual gifts. So as we're born, we're nice little milk. He puts in our spiritual gifts, and they really get activated at confirmation. Even if you're not, not officially like Catholic, I don't think that really matters. But those spiritual gifts are not for me. Those spiritual gifts, every gift that God has ever given me is for me to be in the world serving other people, to be an instrument of God's love. So for me, it's 100% community. The gifts that I have are meant to be shared within community. I am better because of Andreas and Daniel and Dominik and all the people that I haven't yet met on this group. That's why I exist, so that I can go out and serve. And from that, I'm hopefully helping others and being better and be an instrument of his love in the world. So
And Daniel and Peggy, you pushed from confidence to community. So the final state is 61% for community and 38% for confidence. And you will see in the chat really good inputs also with your Bible verse, Andreas, 1 John 5:18. So thanks. So that was so much fun. I could talk for hours, and it was not right or wrong. It just was to get your kind of feedback on certain kind of topics that are important for startups and innovators in our community. So now what are the next steps? First, all the resources and the ebook that I mentioned from today's event are in the OneDrive folder, and just go to bit.ly/TEE DI Resources 1 or scan this QR code right now. Next, please do us a favor and share Dominus Lab with your friends. If you found value today, spread the word on social media, LinkedIn, using the hashtag Dominus Lab so we can amplify the mission, because we don't have a huge marketing budget like others, but we have you. So please spread the word. Thank you, and thank you. And if you are serious about mastering your business and business plan, then apply for Dominus Plan. So that's the next stage in the whole Dominus Lab program. It's a 4-day online workshop designed to turn your vision into a winning strategy. And here's what you will get. We will help focus your startup or business idea to ultimate business mastery. So it's a hands-on workshop designed for faith-driven entrepreneurs that are looking for a fast tracks and get connected with world-class Christian business coaches and mentors. Again, it's a 4-day online workshop, not a full day. It will be 2 hours, free to join, but limited to 20 startups per session only. So apply right now. And last but not least, if you feel called by God to get involved, please reach out to us today. You can host the Dominus Ideas event at your school, university, or church. You've seen we will do about 500 of these events. You can start a local Dominus Lab chapter to unite Christian startup founders, or you can become a startup mentor, guiding Christian entrepreneurs on their journey. And from my personal experience, few things are more fulfilling than coaching and working with startups and helping them succeed in a secular business world. And just one more thing. I'm incredibly grateful, Peggy, Andreas, and Daniel, for joining us today and sharing your whole story and also your insights. And your insights were a true blessing. And we can't thank you enough for your time and wisdom here. And with that, I also want to say thank you all for joining us. It was a lot of fun also with the polls and the chats to see what's going on. Please spread the word and get involved today. Dominus Lab is the new global Christian startup movement, and we need you to help create this 1,000 new Christian AI startups that value much more than just money. Thank you so much, and God bless.